But it's really bizarre because you start seeing all these people like dressed up.
It was a bit of an Airbnb horror story, and I think it's put me off.
I mean, he was a luggage forwarding virgin before this trip. Hi, I'm Nathan.
Hi, I'm Alan, and we are
And we are
the J-Cast.
J-Cast. We're getting better. We're getting better.
We're slightly better again. Or maybe we were. Somebody let us know in the comments. That's the right thing to do.
I think so. So, Alan, hit it. Who are you? Why are we doing this?
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Nathan. So, why are we doing this? What a great question. But yeah, my name's Alan. You may or may not know me through my socials, which are Japan Ichiban. That's me. I'm a meta content creator and I do things all about Japan. What about yourself, Nathan?
Hi, I'm Nathan Ninja Monkey, and I also have a second channel called Happy Gaijin. And I make mainly content about guides, sort of like itineraries and tips about Japan. But I'm trying to sort of like experiment with like topical documentaries and stuff like that. So yeah, my channel's like quite interesting at the moment.
Your channel,
By the way,
it's always interesting. Your channel. Let's just be clear.
Thank you. But what I was gonna say is congratulations on, was it 170,000?
Yep, 170,000 followers now. Thanks very much.
Congratulations, man.
Cheers. We need to get the J-Cast to the same level. That's what we need to do, Nathan.
Yeah, which is a great reminder. If you haven't subscribed, please hit that like button and subscribe. Become, part of the J-Cast. We do this monthly. We'll talk about Japan topics, etc. Type away. Give us your opinions of anything that we're talking about. Agree, disagree, doesn't matter. Just, yeah.
I think there's a big opportunity for some really healthy discussion here. Me and you go to Japan quite often, Nathan. You a lot more regular than me, of course. But
You're catching up. You're catching up.
Well, so it's very slowly. But
You
yeah,
are.
I think we both have different angles on how we both travel to Japan. Sometimes I travel with family, or sometimes it's just me and my partner. Obviously, you're a solo traveller as well, but you have lots of friends over there. So we cover quite a lot of bases, I think, between ourselves. That's between us, I think we can answer most questions that people have.
Yeah. So, Alan, we met up in Tokyo. It was loads of fun. I took him to one of my favorite bars in Shinjuku.
Yeah.
And it was tons of fun.
Which bar was that? Was that the Irish bar? Is that the one that we went to near the big red thing? Is that what it was? Which place was that? There's so many we went to. I can't remember.
It was the Star Bar.
Oh, the Star Bar, yeah, obviously. Sorry, man. God, why did I forget the Star Bar? Don't forget, I tried to take you to one of my favourite bars, but it was absolutely ram-packed, so we couldn't get in. A bar in Golden Guy that we tried to get to.
It's what happens in Golden Guy.
Golden Guy gin. That could be a good first topic,
Yeah.
Nathan, in all fairness. What do you think about the influx of non-Japanese people to Golden Guy? Personally, I quite like the fact that the word's out there and many more people are going there and keeping those bars alive for the rest of us. But what do you think about it?
I think that Golden Guy is a fun place, and it's become its own unique sort of little experience that you have in Tokyo, regardless of who goes there, whether it's a foreigner or whether it's Japanese. I mean, to be honest, I've been to Golden Guy quite a few times, and it's hit or miss in terms of who you sit next to. I've been in plenty of little bars that I've been sitting next to Japanese, and that's even now, recently,
Yeah.
It's just that there's so many bars, so many little izakayas.
I think there's well over 100, aren't there? There's maybe 200 plus, because I think most people forget it's quite a few streets anyway, but there's also some verticality to Golden Guy, so every time you're in a bar, there's probably a bar just right above your head most of the time.
Yeah.
And some of those are actually quite big, but a lot of them are obviously quite small, but yeah.
Yeah, apart from that, I think that Golden Guy is a sort of place where when you've been traveling around Japan, or you've been in Tokyo for a while, for a week or whatever, doing your touristy things and going to all the temples and all the shrines and all the museums and everything that, Tokyo has to offer and Japan has to offer, it's actually kind of nice to unwind speaking English with other tourists and talking about your trips with with other people. It's sort of become that sort of melting pot of like, I need some English conversation and I need to talk to some English people. Would you agree with me?
Do you get to that point, Nathan? I think I get to that point sometimes when I'm in Japan. I've been in Japan for 2 weeks or something, and I crave a little bit of English food. I know a lot of people don't like English food, but whatever. I know I do. So I do get a little bit homesick, and I think the opportunity to speak to some people, maybe in your native tongue and stuff, and share experiences is a lot of fun. So no matter just to be clear, no matter who I've ever sat next to in Golden Guy, I've always had a good time. It's always been great. I've sat next to people from
Yeah.
Australia. I actually, funnily enough, one of the first times I went, I'm 6,000 miles away from home, and I sat next to somebody who basically lives in the town next to me here in the UK. It was just so strange. We're like, wow, you live
Wow.
5 miles from me or something like that back at home. But yeah, it's a complete melting pot of people from all over the world. You'll hear so many different accents and different languages. It's amazing, really.
Yeah. I do like Golden Guy. I think you just need to embrace what it is, and you cannot really be like, pointing out all the problems. It is what it is, and another place that's sort of become similar in a way, and I've actually been editing a video about this today, is Harajuku's Takashita Street.
Yes.
That in itself, and I've been traveling to that area for the last 11 years. First time I went was 2014, and it's changed a lot in 11 years. Takashita Street has really changed. And every time that I go back, I always say the same thing. I always say, oh my God, has changed. It's like there are no Japanese people there anymore. It's all tourists. But every time I go there, I also say, oh my God, there's something new to see. There's some new store that's opened. It's like always something new, something new, something new. So it's sort of become its own little unique thing that even though it's not the same, it's adapted and it's become its own thing. What do you think?
Well, I think there's so much to do in Harajuku anyway. You could come out of the station and turn around and go to Meiji Jingu for starters, which is a absolutely beautiful part of Tokyo, as I'm sure you'll probably agree. I absolutely adore Meiji Jingu. It's one of my favourite places in Tokyo. And if you want to, you can carry on further down through Takeshita Street, cross the road, and go down. I think it's called Cat Street, isn't it, down there? There's lots of, you know, I think the shops and stores that are in that area are more of the older vibe, but there are some new things in there as well. So Cat Street's quite nice, and you can keep heading towards a Omotesando as well. So if you like more higher end shopping, you can kind of turn right there. There's a fantastic Liberty Walk store just there, which are the people who make the huge Japanese body kits. And the owner of Liberty Walk is quite often in there, which is pretty cool. He'll sign your
Wow.
merch and apparel if you ask him very nicely. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's a fantastic place to go. I think, didn't me and you walk down there once and we saw some owls or something in the street?
We did.
That was a fun time.
We did.
Yeah, so I think, for me, Harajuku changes, but, so what? I want to see the new things. I want to see what's happening. It's about fashion,
Yeah,
so fashion changes anyway. So, yeah, it's good for me. I like Harajuku.
I think that one of the big issues is this whole like trying to hold on to the past, when in reality, even think about your own hometown and think about what your hometown was like 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. And there's going to be new stores, there's going to be new things open, restaurants that have closed down. And unfortunately, we go to Japan maybe 10 years ago and we have this image of what a street was like or what the feeling of a place was like. And it's the way the world is, things progress, there's progress, things move on. And yes, Takashita Street isn't really, I wouldn't call it the capital of youth culture.
Not anymore.
Maybe, but different. It's just different, but it's definitely like, put it this way, like now in that area, you see all of these, if you're lucky and you see people dressed up in Lolita like outfits or Harajuku style.
Yeah.
They're not Japanese.
Correct.
They
Very,
are basically tourists dressed up in like Harajuku style, walking down these streets, and you don't really see.
Yeah, you're completely right. If you go to Kyoto, there's people in kimono all over the place. They're not Japanese either. This is what it's about. But that doesn't matter. That isn't necessarily a bad thing. There's people.
No.
I think people enjoying that aspect of Japanese culture, no matter where they're from, is fantastic, and that's the reason
Yeah,
I go there is to enjoy Japanese culture. So,
yeah,
for
yeah,
me,
yeah, yeah.
Harajuku's always been a place that I've always visited, and it's always been fun. Some things have stayed the same. The rockabilly guys are still there doing the dancing on a Sunday.
But less so, less so. I haven't seen them in a while. I've seen them
Yeah,
moving away from that area. I've seen them in Ueno. I've seen it in Yoyogi, yes, which if not,
not
but
too far. Yeah,
but I mean basically what I'm trying to say here is that things change, things
yeah,
move on, and there's a difference between change and adapting and a tourist trap. There's two different things.
yeah.
And I recently put out a video about Tsukiji Outer Market, and that for me was a very difficult, like my sort of thinking and outcome on, is it a tourist trap? Is it not a tourist trap? Would I recommend people go there or not? That was a really difficult one for me to decide. Is it a tourist trap or not? Because in many ways it is. It's overpriced. I had one of the worst wagyu beefs like sticks that I've had in my life.
Yeah.
Like literally, I could get better beef here at home than there than
Sure.
in Tsukiji. It was totally overpriced, but at the same time, you have the other side. There is a lot of fresh food there, and it
Yeah.
is a foodie's paradise. You will get lots of. Name me one place, another place in Tokyo where you can go to one area and have such a selection of different types of foods and seafoods
That's
just by
very true.
browsing. It's sort of, so yes, it's overpriced. Yes, it's a tourist trap in many ways. But I was speaking to many tourists whilst I was there, and they all said the same thing. This is a tourist trap, but it's a good tourist trap. We
Yeah, but
don't
it's good.
care.
Yeah, exactly. I
Like,
think there's lots of places like that across Japan where you accept that there will be lots of tourists there and things might be slightly more expensive, but it's still a great experience. The food's still very, very good. Well, some of the food in some places are very, very good. I'm thinking places like in Osaka, like maybe like Dotonbori type area. There's still some great food to be had there, but it's probably quite expensive. Yes, there's a million people there as well at the same time. But I mean, it's fine, isn't it? This is what we got to do. If you want to go somewhere quiet, head up north, head out of Tokyo and go, into the wilderness. You
on
climb
that
up.
note, on that note,
Is
on
that
that
a segue?
note,
I thought I did well there. Did we segued into the right thing?
Alan has been traveling up north, and he traveled to Tohoku, which is actually one of my favorite sort of areas to travel around Japan. Um, Definitely less tourists.
Oh,
So,
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Alan, tell us a
Yeah.
little bit. I mean, let's not make it too much about our trip, but let's tell me a little bit about your trip.
Well, it was absolutely fantastic. I suppose is the takeaway. If you wanted one sentence, the trip was absolutely fantastic. We went to Tokyo for a few days, acclimatized, got on Japanese time and had a wander around a few places. Some places like Yanaki Ginza, which were amazing, by the way. And then we travelled up to northern Japan, as you've said. We had a Japan Rail Pass for a week, and we absolutely made the most of it. They must hate me at Japan Rail because I absolutely batter those passes. I get a lot of money from them, a lot of value from them, I suppose I should say. So I went there with my wife and my kids as well. So we travelled from Tokyo to Sendai, but then we stayed in Morioka. So we stayed in Morioka for the full week and basically used Morioka as a hub. So we went up and down and around and all across Tohoku. So we visited places like Yamadera, Matsushima Bay, Sendai, Morioka itself, Aomori, all around Tohoku. It was absolutely fantastic. So
One
great
place.
trip.
Name me one place. Your top. If you had to say, I want to return to this one specific location, what would it be from that trip?
Um, we went to so many nice places. I think I would like to go to Matsushima Bay probably a little bit more than I did. I was a little bit early for the cherry blossoms, so they hadn't yet bloomed, and I would like to see Matsushima Bay in full bloom. Yamadera was amazing, but the Temple of a Thousand Steps was great. But I probably don't want to do it again. It was really tough. It was tough on the legs. It really was. Although we saw some monkeys there. That was fantastic. On the side of the
Ooh.
hills we were going up, they were foraging for food and things. That was great.
Did you notice a vending machine at the top of Yamadera?
Yeah,
How
we did.
expensive it was.
It was very expensive, yeah. I mean, there's quite a few things up there now. There's like a little shop and a store, but I mean, to be honest, for me, at the moment in time, Japan's really, really inexpensive because of the way the currencies are with the UK. So, paying, even 200 yen for like a Pocari Sweat is £1, and in the UK you couldn't get a small can of Diet Coke for £1. So, it's still relative in terms of price. But I love that place. Yamadera is absolutely beautiful. Matsushima Bay is beautiful. Sendai itself, what a great city Sendai is, Nathan. I have slept on Sendai. I mean, I've been to Japan, what, 8, 9, probably 10 times now or something. I've never been to Sendai before, and for me, I'm going to keep going back. I thought Sendai was fantastic. It's like a mini Tokyo.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, and
it
quieter.
kind of is. It kind of is, but at the same time, I think that Sendai is definitely a great spot to stay at to explore the rest
Oh yeah.
of Tohoku. I would say, but I wouldn't say it's as exciting as Tokyo.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's as exciting, but
but
I
yeah,
think
but yeah, but yeah, but yeah.
it's got a lot of positives. Yeah, yeah. I just wanted to say as well, in Morioka we stayed in a hotel, which is not really like us. I tend to stay in an Airbnb, as you know, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, we stayed in a hotel and it was fantastic. So I may be warming a little more towards staying in hotels as opposed to Airbnbs. So you've got to
Yeah,
figure that
so
out.
let's talk about that because
Yeah.
I mean, I want to make this very clear. I don't stay in Airbnbs because I don't want to stay in Airbnbs, but I only had one experience with Airbnbs, I believe, and it was a negative one.
Yeah.
It was many years ago. We booked an Airbnb somewhere in Spain for a concert, and when we got to the location, the Airbnb listing didn't exist. It was actually a fake Airbnb listing,
Yikes.
which meant that nowhere. So basically, I've not had an Airbnb experience because we ended up in a
There
hotel.
wasn't one. Yeah. Yeah.
There wasn't one. I stay in hotels mostly because I think that as a solo traveler, staying in a hotel, especially business hotels, works very well. I've looked at the price of a hotel over like an Airbnb, and if you're a traveler like me and you book well in advance, you're gonna get those cheaper rooms.
Yeah.
The difference between booking when I did for my April trip for my Easter trip. I booked that, I think, at the beginning of January, maybe my hotels, or maybe in December.
Yeah.
And then I was looking at the same hotel room, like just 1 month or 1.5 months before, and it was literally
Yikes.
double the price.
Wow,
Like,
that's such a difference. Yeah,
like
so that is something to avoid with hotels, isn't it? The premium pricing does actually kick in, I suppose. But I think that also happens with Airbnb. If you try and book last minute with Airbnb, you also end up paying quite a premium as well.
So Alan is a huge Airbnb fan, which I get because when you are with a family, especially, it sort of makes sense to have your own space, with your own little kitchen, and
Very true.
it does, and it might even be more affordable to have an Airbnb in some cases.
Yeah, that's
I
very
mean,
true. Well, when there's four people traveling together, and two adults and two children, if you were staying in a hotel, you would generally have to buy two rooms. So, the cost then it then means Airbnb is actually a more valid price point. In all fairness, so it's finding the balance. I think accommodation is something that people are very price sensitive on. Some people won't be, of course. Some people are fine staying in the best hotels. That's not an issue. But I think the general traveller, it's one of the main expenses when you go to Japan. There's flight and then hotel probably. Flight and accommodation are your two biggest expenses, I would think. So because of that, I think it's useful to at least explore Airbnb as an avenue, as long as you have a good experience, Nick.
So I know that basically we've been in communication whilst we were in Tokyo. We're in Tokyo at the same time.
Yep.
We met up 3 or 4 times whilst we were in Tokyo here and there for lunch, for meeting up with other friends, and then that kind of thing, as you do, popping in and out of each other's sort of like plans.
Yeah.
And at one point, send Alan a message, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be in Ikebukuro. Was it? Where were you staying originally? The first one.
I was in Shinakubo, wasn't I, that time? Shinakubo.
Okay, yeah. So I said to Alan, I'm gonna be in I'm gonna head to Shinokubo in the morning because I want to film something. If you want to meet up for breakfast, for a coffee or whatever,
Yep.
And he basically sends me, hey mate, but
Disaster.
we have to get out of this Airbnb.
Yeah.
Explain
So,
it.
so basically, we had an Airbnb disaster. That's what we had on this holiday. So the first few nights we stayed in an Airbnb in Tokyo. Absolutely fantastic, no problem at all. Beautiful house in a great part of Tokyo. Then we stayed in Morioka for a week. Great hotel, zero problems. Then the last week of our holiday, because that was the last bit then, we were back in Tokyo. And I've stayed in Akubo many, many times before because it's right next to Shinjuku.
It's a nice place.
It's a great place in all fairness to stay. Although I'm slightly, turning off Akubo a little bit, but we can talk about that in the future. But yeah, my plan was to stay in an Airbnb for that week there in Akubo. We had a place booked. It looked a little bit rough and ready on the pictures, but not too bad. And as you know, most of the time I'm just out and about anyway. I'm not really back at the Airbnb. We have breakfast there, then we're out all day. We may come back for an afternoon sleep sometimes because we've done 10,000 steps already. And then we'll be out again at night time. So I'm not really in the Airbnb that much. But this Airbnb, we had a huge problem. And I'll talk about it now, Nathan. That problem was basically there was a factory next door to the Airbnb, and that was not in any of the documentation. Nobody said anything at all. We'd basically booked a house. Well, at least they said it was a house, but it was actually it was like a duplex apartment on top of a laundrette, which wasn't great. Anyway, but it was handy for doing laundry, which is a separate story. But then next door to us, so basically our first level, so where we would sit and where one of the bedrooms was on the second floor for our non-UK friends. It's the first floor for the UK guys, but whatever. The second floor, the factory was in the building next door, and they were basically working on the balcony outside next to where I was. So they were grinding something or sharpening something, I don't know what it was, but from maybe 7:30 in the morning, 8 a.m. in the morning until 7 at night. There's just huge machine noises, grinding noises, everything else. And I was just, I can't stay here.
Oh my God,
it was a nightmare,
seriously.
absolute nightmare.
I mean, he sent me video. Of this, and if you want to send me video, I maybe can put a little clip here or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
Don't know, but he sent me video, and I was like, oh my goodness gracious. But I also have to say, as somebody who stays in hotels all the time, I stayed in an upper hotel, which, by the way, I think you need to experience an upper hotel at some point.
We'll see.
Please.
We'll see.
Please. You gotta try it.
Yeah.
But I stayed in an upper hotel, and every single night, between 2 and 4 in the morning, there was some kind of a street alarm that was going off, and it would wake me up.
Oh, no.
And basically, yeah, like every single night. Now, I know Upper, and I know that had I said something, they would have moved me rooms.
Yeah.
But because I was kind of lazy, and I already had unpacked everything, and I had all my like camera gear, everything was charging.
Chargers everywhere, cables everywhere, Nathan. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I literally instead I went and I bought myself some earplugs, and
that's a good idea. Yeah, that's a good idea.
yeah.
I mean,
but I'm just saying that it can happen anywhere. It doesn't have to be an Airbnb.
absolutely.
Like you can have a
you're
bad
completely
experience.
Right. No, you're completely right. And I think one of the main issues we had, which was the same issue you had, we had been there for basically. Well, this was the second night I'd contacted Airbnb and said,
Yeah,
guys,
and you
I
probably
thought,
thought, oh, it's gonna stop. No.
well, the first night I was like, oh, that's a bad noise. In fact, the first night I was out with you, so we were out all night, weren't we? In all fairness, so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
actually
yeah,
home.
yeah.
So the second day, maybe I was feeling a little bit wistful because you kept buying me drinks. So I was just like, I need a little bit of time to rest, and they're just
Yeah. I
grinding like
kept on
here.
buying him drinks that he paid for, by the way.
We'll talk about that. You bought me something. Anyway, so it was just so loud. I was like, I can't get away from it. So I phoned Airbnb. Well, I messaged Airbnb and said, guys, I cannot stay here. This is like atrocious. This noise. Listen to it. And the worrying thing was, I sent Airbnb a video of this because they asked for a video of it, and they said on the video we can't hear any noise. And I was like, what? What do you mean you can't hear any noise? This is. Did you have the
That's
sound on your
ridiculous.
video? Yeah, I mean you've heard that video and everything, and it was really
No,
loud, wasn't it? It was very loud.
that is taking the piss.
Well,
I
yeah,
mean, there's
unfortunately
nothing
it
more
was.
than I hate. There's nothing worse than a company basically like not taking responsibility and on top of it lying and pretending that everything's okay. That is just no.
Yeah, exactly. So where you had the issue where you could speak to Appa and say, guys, I'm not happy about this, please move me, and you know they would have done. With things like Airbnb, you're a little bit more vulnerable to things like that. You're vulnerable to more issues. And that's something I probably don't take into account as much as I think I should do. So when I'm booking, I'm like, oh, Airbnb, it's slightly nicer. But,
But this
all
is
the
the
problems are
second time
mine.
this has happened to you in Japan.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I had another issue before with Airbnb, but that's something slightly different on the other one. But this one was really bad. The previous one was just like noisy neighbours and things. So that's kind of one of those things that happens. People singing karaoke at 1 a.m. Like, thanks guys, cheers
wow.
for that. And I wouldn't mind if you could sing well, but never mind. That's a different story. But yeah, so
Well, at least invite us. We'll join in, right?
yeah, that would have been good. That time, I mean, to be honest, when you go with children and stuff, it's not just about you. You want to make sure other people are having a good time while you're there in Japan,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's for them. They only go once a year, so it's important that they have a good time. So what that meant was I had to find somewhere to be for the rest of that week on like a moment's notice. So, as you were saying, hotels get more expensive the closer to the day. Airbnbs get more expensive as well the closer to the day. So I'm like, oh my god, what do I do? Airbnb said they would change my reservation so it stopped, basically the next morning, like at 10 a.m. I had to be out by, and then I would get a refund for the rest of the time, but no money back for what I'd already used. Okay, fine. So then I'm trying to find somewhere, and luckily we found somewhere in a part of Tokyo where we've not really stayed before, but we've been to before, which is Shinamachi, Nathan. You know Shinamachi, don't you, probably, near Ikebukuro. So we thought, well, it's near Ikebukuro. It looks like a really nice house. There's no factories next door, so that's already a plus.
Bonus.
That winning. So we tried that anyway, and thankfully the prices weren't too bad. It still cost us quite a bit of money to go, but in the long run, it's not just about me, is it? At that moment in time, it's about me and the wider family. So yeah, the upshot is that new place that we went there the next day. Actually, we met you on the day, Nathan, didn't we? We went to some Hawaiian burger place on the day.
Yeah, he actually left all the luggage. They accommodated you quite well, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean,
If I remember right, yeah.
They said I could leave luggage in the place from midday, but we were out at the other place at 9 a.m. So we headed over to Ikebukuro. We found some luggage lockers there that were all empty. We found a full bank of empty luggage lockers. I was like, oh my god, success! And we just popped our luggage in there. Then we spent a day in Ikebukuro, and then by the time it got to about 4 p.m, we were already ready and waiting to go into the property. And it was lovely. And Shinamachi's really nice. I had a really good time. It was just fantastic. So in the end, it all kind of worked out. But the fact that the accommodation was poor didn't put me off. It's Airbnb's reasoning and them basically saying it isn't that bad when it really was that bad, the noise. So that's the bit I'm worried about in future. So yeah, it was an exciting time when that happened.
Wow, Alan. I mean,
but you were like, "Oh, Alan, do you want to come out for a day?" I'm like, "I can't, Nathan. No, I'm so sorry."
Exactly.
I was like, "No, I'm so sorry." But yeah,
exactly. But I mean, the whole, like, at least maybe now, you can start looking at hotels and staying in
Yeah.
hotels. You've had a little bit of a taste of that in Morioka.
Yep.
And, I think that when you're staying in a hotel, you are looked after, as in, you got your they make up your room, they change your towels, and it makes it feel like you're a little bit more on a vacation, even if you're
Yes.
staying in an Appa hotel, by the way.
I think you're right. It's stress free, isn't it? To an extent, it makes things so easy. Stuff like Takubin is really easy as well. We should probably talk about that, if you wanted to. But
Yeah.
Takubin was fantastic as well. So
First time, I mean, he was a luggage forwarding virgin before this
that's
trip,
very true. Yeah,
and
and
now
I've,
and
I've
now
done it
he's
twice now.
like he's a man.
Well, the funny thing was, the first time I did Takubin, I had to do it all myself because again, I wasn't in a hotel. I was in an Airbnb. So I had to send my stuff. I had to write out all the forms. I've still got them over there. They're
Wow, wow,
on the
wow.
wall here somewhere. But I had to write them all out myself. I went to a convenience store and I basically like fumbled through my very basic Japanese. And they were really good. They were fantastic in the convenience store, in all fairness. And one of the things was we were sending it from Tokyo all the way up to Morioka, which is quite a distance. So they
Actually,
were just
I wanna just pause you there because let's
yeah.
explain what luggage forwarding is for those of you who
Oh
don't
yeah,
know.
good point. Yes.
So basically, Japan is living in the future. Basically, you don't. It's the most convenient country in the world. You can literally get your luggage, and there are companies that will send your luggage to wherever you want. It could be a hotel. It could even be a convenience store, and it can even be like a pickup location.
Yep.
So that is basically what luggage storage is. And back to your story.
Sorry, I forget. Not everybody knows, but that's a really good point. So, you can send, this. You can forward your luggage from so many different locations and to so many different locations. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I basically, I spoke to a lady who was in Morioka herself, who was basically in this station, like a Takubin service counter in the station. I sent some from my hotel. I sent some from a convenience store, and I also picked it up at a depot in Tokyo as well. So there's so many different things you
Yeah.
can do. It's fantastic. But yeah,
There
so
are
for
loads of
me,
options. Yeah.
yeah, and it's a service I'm definitely going to use in the future. The interesting thing is it's so inexpensive. So it's
I
not
mean,
a
it
lot of
can
money
add
to
up.
send it. Yeah,
It can add up. I mean, like I think in the future, if I'm gonna ever give like any like tips like what to prepare financially for your trips, and I would say is put some money aside for luggage forwarding, because
yeah,
even though it's a little bit, it does add up after 2 weeks of travel if you're going to be traveling a lot.
yeah,
You only did the two sort of like trips, so it wasn't too much.
yeah,
But if you are traveling, like 4, 5, 6 different places, it can add up a little bit.
yeah. Well, we
But
tend we
it
tend to
is,
do the
it's
yeah.
worth it. It's worth it.
It's absolutely worth it. But for us,
My God, yeah,
we do the hub and spoke thing. So we travel from one hub to another and then use that as
yeah,
we can then like spoke off it like a bicycle wheel almost.
yeah.
That's how we travel. So we have one place and then we generally do lots of day trips back and forth using the JR pass. I think it's quite a good way of traveling Japan, but you can't always.
I think
But
it's
yeah.
probably the best way to use the JR Pass at the moment.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I
So
mean,
that
it's
was good.
got it's got its pros and it's got its cons. Like its pro is that you can really get your money's worth by doing all these day trips. The cons is that they are day trips, and there I always think that there's two sides to a location. Like there's a night side
Absolutely. Yeah.
and the day side. But it is a great way to use your. Probably the only way that I would actually like advise people use the JR Pass
Yeah.
now.
Well,
Like,
well,
and
I
you're
think
doing it, so
yeah, well, I think we've both worked that out. You generally need to be on the Shinkansen like every other day just to break even on the JR pass. And then if you're going to break even, why would you bother anyway? Why would you tie yourself down to that 1 week? So it's there's lots of pros and cons I think to the JR pass. But yeah, but Morioka was lovely and I'm completely sold on northern Japan. And what I'm most looking forward to is in the future probably going back to Morioka, but in the short term is heading to other areas of Japan I've still not been to, such as Kyushu.
yeah.
Nathan, I'm going to Kyushu, just so I can explore and hopefully have a very similar experience, which was just fantastic. I adore
Kyushu
northern
is.
Japan. Yeah. Well,
Do
we
we
shall
have
see.
any questions from viewers?
I don't think we do actually. You know, it was a little bit quiet on questions last time, and I must admit I haven't done my
Was.
homework. I do apologise. Yeah.
I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a challenge. Do you think we can get at least 5 questions?
5
Down
questions.
in the
5
comment
questions.
sections. Yeah, guys, 5 questions. More than 5. And more than 5, and Alan will do a belly dance.
That will stop people asking questions, Nathan. You don't want the truffle shuffle. But yeah, I
The
suppose
truffle shuffle. What's
yeah.
that? I've never heard that in my life.
It's off a film called The Goonies. It's a long story.
Oh, the Goonies. Okay,
yeah, you know, from
yeah.
the 80s, you know.
Yeah, of course.
But you don't want a belly dance from me. But yeah, that's a good point. The questions will be really good. We'd love to answer the questions. That'd be fantastic. I suppose one question people might ask is, why is this slightly late? Me and Nathan have both been to Japan, so that's what it is. You know, it's probably...
We have
affected
been,
our schedules a little bit.
and yeah, and I've been catching up on all sorts of things. In fact, one of the things that I wanted to mention is how freaking amazing Tokyo is when you start exploring the smaller, sort of like quieter
Or off
areas.
the beaten path. Yeah.
Off the beaten path, because I've been doing this series on my channel of like lesser visited Tokyo, which you've used for this trip that you've just
Absolutely.
been on.
Yeah.
You know, but I have actually been working on a part 3 of that video, and as a result of working on that part 3, I did go to some other locations that you should have to wait and see. But every single time I go to these locations, I'm like, seriously? Like,
Yeah.
what? This is here? Like, what? And there's no tourists? And like, why? And like, how? Like, seriously?
Well, this is the thing. This is exactly what you were saying. I was looking for some places where we hadn't been before, and I knew you had those fantastic videos from the past. So I basically just messaged you and said, "Hey, what are those videos called?" And you're like, "It's off the beaten path, Tokyo." Just got no problem. So I went to those
Hidden
videos.
Tokyo, whatever, yeah.
Yeah, sure. And I went to. I think you have a playlist.
I don't even
You've
know
got
the
a playlist.
title. I changed the title.
Yeah. The link's in the description. So it was absolutely fantastic, and to go to those places that I'd never been before, you know, see some new sites, and it's exactly what you're
You
saying.
went to
Togoshi Ginza and Jujo. Yeah, I went to Jujo as well. Yeah,
Jujo and yeah.
Togoshi Ginza. Yeah.
So Togoshi Ginza, yeah.
Yeah, so Togoshi
There's-
Ginza is
yeah, it's-
fantastic. I cannot believe there's, you know, like a 1.5 kilometre long shopping street that I didn't even know existed. And I love shopping streets, and Evan, I adore like shopping streets,
I
shopping
know.
guys. There's so
I
much
know.
fun. Those are the things I think the UK is missing. You know, we used to when I was growing up, like you said, the UK used to have those like central areas where people would go to, and that's all gone now. And when I go back to Japan and I see how vibrant they are, there's so many different businesses. You know, you can do anything. You can have something to eat. You can do some banking somewhere if you want to. You can do anything in those places. And
Yeah,
there's
well-
such a great, you know, there's such a good setup because the train station's right in the middle usually as well. So it's fantastic. Oh, it's right. It's more than. It's not more than 100 yards to Shotengai. It's fantastic.
It's
Jujo
great,
was
it's
really
great.
nice as well. You know, I really enjoyed Jujo. So we should think about maybe going back there at some
And
point.
I'm still exploring more of these smaller areas. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it gets to the point where you start sort of like not running out, but sort of like researching is much harder because you
course.
sort of like hit all they're not necessarily popular, but let's just say that one of the places that I went to, I've gone to 3 times so that I could film it properly. 3 times. That's the effort that I put into this video. First time I went, it was New Year's, and not everything was closed, but it didn't have a few things were closed, and I thought to myself, it doesn't really have the feel that I want. It's not like I'm not really showing, you know, like showing it in its best light. Then I went back in February, thinking I'm going to film in February, and there's these beautiful there are these trees, like there's avenue of trees, but they didn't have any leaves on them because it was February.
Oh, right. Okay.
So I thought I'm gonna have to come. I'm gonna have to come back in
go back
April
again.
to film it with. And when I went back in April, they still didn't have any leaves.
Are
And
they
I just
ginkgo
thought,
trees
screw
then?
it. I'm not going back a fourth time. No.
But sometimes you just need to film what's in front of you, don't you? That's what I need to do. That's what I do quite often when I'm creating my content. I just film whatever's there, and you have to be happy with it. I think.
This place that I went to, you would love. They call it Little Kyoto.
Ooh. That sounds nice.
Yeah, in Tokyo, and it has these little streets and alleys that have a very Kyoto like feel to it. It's
Wow.
pretty unique.
See, there's so many hidden things in Tokyo that we just don't know about. There's so many things, and this is why videos like yours, Nathan, are really important. And to an extent, some of the places I've been that are more off the beaten path, they get fantastic traction. But it's difficult sometimes to get those videos out there if you're not like on a wave of, like really successful videos. If you don't, because people search for things like Shinjuku all the time. Akihabara's always
Yeah.
searched for. And if you type a random place, you say, this is my video on Jujo. Who's
No,
actually
you
going to
can't.
search
You
for
gotta
that? Yeah, it's
you gotta
difficult.
put a different title. That's why you need to put
Yeah.
like you gotta use a title that doesn't even mention the place because people don't know where Jujo is. So
Yeah,
you gotta
exactly. Off the
like
beaten path, Tokyo. Off the beaten path, something like that.
yeah, even that, but still, it takes so much like energy thinking about titles and thumbnails. It's just crazy. Yeah, my trip here, I had a list of places that I wanted to visit within Tokyo, and I had a list of things that I wanted to shoot. But at the same time, I spent most of my time hanging out with people like you, or hanging out with other friends and meeting people, chilling, and that kind of thing. I'd say that less than 50% of my time was filming,
Nice.
which is average, I'd say. But
Yeah.
I did explore places that I haven't been to. I went to the onsen that you recommended. What
Oh,
was it?
Niwa no You in Toshimaen. Yep. That was, funnily enough, that's where we ended up. We ended up near there when we had to do our emergency Airbnb. So
Oh, okay.
that's probably a good tip, Nathan. What we had there was we were one stop from Ikebukuro, which is
Yeah.
super handy. The one stops
Yeah.
from a major hub is always handy.
I call that a satellite station. So
Yeah,
basically,
perfect. Yeah.
if you stay in if like first of all, like I don't think there's a right or a wrong place of where to stay in Tokyo. We can have this debate forever. Like it's all about preference.
Yeah.
However, if you figure out what your main station or the main area is going to be, then you could always stay at that station or near that station or one station away from that station.
Yeah.
And I call that a satellite station. And you can even get cheaper prices because they're just one station away.
Yeah.
But usually one station away means still walking distance.
Well, if you think the central stations are actually so big anyway, when you're one stop from the very centre of that place, you're probably not
Yeah.
too far from one of the further exits anyway.
Exits, yeah.
So, yeah. But just what we did one evening is we basically went 5 or 6 stops down that particular track, and then walked our way back slowly but surely, which was absolutely fantastic. We really enjoyed that nighttime walk. So it was a full evening, but we basically went all the way to Toshimaen and then walked all the way back. So
Wow.
fantastic. Yeah, that's a good way of exploring that local area though, because we were kind of generally following the track back to where we needed to be, But yeah, it was great.
Toshimaen, right? Toshimaen. This is a completely off topic. Like I'm completely nothing to do with Japan or anything.
Right.
But that's where the Harry Potter Studio whatever tour thing is, right?
Yep, that's right.
And I was walking through the station, and there was a train station. A train. There was a train, and on the train was like Hermione, Harry Potter, all the characters when they were kids. And I was thinking to myself, oh my god, it must be so weird for those actors, who are now like whatever, nearly 40 probably.
Yeah.
And they're a bit or in the 30s at least.
Definitely in the 30s, yeah.
And their faces are plastered on these trains in Tokyo. It's so bizarre. When they were children, random thinking never.
I think that's very true, but there are quite a lot of very large signs in Toshimaen, aren't there? And did you see a lot of people dressed up in like Harry Potter gear and things? Because we certainly
That's the other thing, yeah. That's the other thing I was going to say, that it's a little bit bizarre because, I did a little bit of a live stream around there also, but it's really bizarre because you start seeing all these people like dressed up
suddenly in a cloak type thing.
Full on like Harry Potter stuff.
It's quite a fun part of Tokyo though. Everyone's having a good time. So yeah, it's I really enjoyed going there. I mean, the last time I went to Toshimaen was probably a decade ago, and when I went there, none of that existed, of course. So it's been completely redeveloped since I went there last time. But I'm glad to see that part of Tokyo is doing well. So it's good news.
And that onsen was really nice. If you don't have to choose, I totally recommend it. My plan was to sort of go and spend an hour and a half
Yeah.
in the onsen. I ended up spending probably 3.5 hours. I literally went in, I did the whole onsen thing, and then I I rented the shorts to go into the swimming pool area.
Yep.
I walked through the Japanese garden, and then I had lunch, overlooking the garden. It was just such a nice, like, chill sort of thing to do.
Well, it's a great onsen because Ikebukuro is easy to get to, and then it's not too far from Ikebukuro in terms of time, and the onsen is shared and separate as well. So it has the normal men and women separate bathing areas, but there is a bit where you can bathe together as long as you are then clothed in that area, which I think is what you were saying about the shorts. So you can still spend time with your partner or something else if you wish, or whoever you travelled with,
And very local.
and then you can still bathe.
Very local, huh?
Super local.
Like,
did you see many Westerners there? Or, no.
There were 2 French guys in there.
Yeah.
That's it. And those 2 French guys were there because they were students. They weren't even tourists.
Oh, so they were basically in Japan anyway. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so it was a different sort of vibe. It wasn't like, even though they were foreigners, they weren't tourists. There were no tourists there. I was the only tourist there, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, it's been a fun little chat here. I think.
Yeah, it's been
fun. It's been fun.
It's been very much fun indeed. We need to make sure we do these more often, Nathan. Come on, guys. How often should we do? How often do you want this? How often?
If you want to edit them, I could do them much more often, but I cannot.
Well, you're the genius editor, though, Nathan. You are the reason the videos are so popular.
In fact, if there's anybody here who is an editor who is looking for some sort of on the side, not too expensive, like sort of like thing, let us know in the comment section, because not only are we potentially, I don't mind investing into this podcast to offload. I'm sure that we've both spoken about this, that we will both do this, we will both help. But also for my channel on Ninja Monkey, I'm also looking for an editor, because there's a lot of things that I want to put out that I just don't have time to put out.
Sure, and
certain content.
Well, I think as well, if somebody decided to edit your stuff, Nathan, there's a good opportunity for them to get the work out there as well, isn't there? You reach hundreds of thousands of people, don't you, every single month. So there's opportunity for somebody to definitely get their name out there with some fantastic edits. So
preferably Final Cut Pro. Doesn't have to be, but preferably Final Cut Pro, because then you can send over the sort of like the semi-final edit, and I can sort of like tweak any little thing that needs to be tweaked, But yeah, anyway, on that note,
thanks everybody. Yeah, thanks very much, Nathan.
It's been a long one, but hey,
it's been a fun one though. There's been a lot of energy in the room, like that. I like that a lot of energy. Good. So if we're closing statements, I've been Alan,
and I've been Nathan.
And we've been
the
JCast. Come on.
JCast.
Yeah, slightly better. Well done,
what did you say?
The JCast, I said the JCast.
Ah, okay. It was that strong accent of yours.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm trying to tone it down. Apologies. I'll try better.
No. Okay, yeah, take 2. Let's try again.
Okay.
Let's try again.
Okay.
I've been Nathan.
And I've been Alan. And we've been the JCast.
JCast.
There we go. Slightly better. Thanks everyone.
See you guys.
I'll see you later. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.